Oh my God, I can't even begin to tell you how excited I am to be doing this conversation, Ginny. So, to be honest, I think this is something which I've been wanting to do for a while. And let me just start off by welcoming you to the community. I think this is the moment that I've been waiting for since the first day that we started the community, because this was one of the things that I really wanted to talk about. Okay. And I think Wendy came in like an angel, and I think I should really thank her for getting us introduced. You know, when she first spoke about you and sort of sent me the link to your TED talk, I literally had like goosebumps when I watched it. And in that moment, I think my admiration for you and of course your courage went up like many-fold. All right. And of course, through our subsequent interactions, I also discovered the beautiful human being that you are, and that just added to the magic. So, so that's how it is. So abuse, unfortunately, is a reality that is rarely spoken about, and a lot of people actually choose to spend their lifetimes trying to bury those memories in the garb of normalcy. Okay, so from that perspective, I think this conversation is important, and more so because you are you work with as many people in this space as well, which kind of adds up to it. And I'm really, really looking forward to spending the next 1 hour with you, Ginny.
Yes, no, thank you so much for having me. I think this is a great opportunity to talk about something that is really pertinent. I think I was just sharing with you that the Australian of the Year that's 2021, was a girl who was abused when she was 16, and she complained, and it was in a school like not even that long ago. She's 26 now, and she's actually the Australian of the Year, which demonstrates to us that no country, no place is sort of immune to it. It's something,
absolutely.
I mean, in India, it's much more, but the percentage that's across the world, we're looking at something like 25% of young children.
25%?
20 to 25%. Yeah, and it varies, right? It's global numbers. And as statistics are getting better, I think that, people are able to have the courage, and police are ready to actually note that down, which is very different, because before it was just like, go tell someone else, talk to the hand kind of thing.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I know. I think the negation part of it is something. Sorry.
No, sorry. I was just saying it was really great that you are doing this great kind of conversations, because for me, it's an opportunity to sort of connect with the people in India, and to know that someone like you who's ready to discuss topics which are not really discussed is another level of, your vulnerability, and all of us who stand together to change something.
Well, honestly, it's about time that the truth comes to the forefront, right? So yeah, that's how it is. And I personally feel that this is a topic that really, really needs to come out into the open and be discussed, because the more we talk about it, the more aware we are. And of course, a lot of times there could be instances which are happening around us, and we may just choose to ignore it, thinking that, oh, maybe it's like normal. So yeah, I think the message that you have been trying to convey, and what I totally support, is that this is not normal. This is not how it is meant to be, So let me directly dive in. So let me ask you this. So you're like the founder, director of Altitude Minds. You're a TEDx speaker. You're a researcher. You're a scientist, epidemiologist. You're into behavior change. You're a specialist there as well. So between all of this, who's the real Sarojini? And when you aren't really juggling between being all of what I just spoke about?
Yeah, thank you. This is a really important question, I think, because it comes based on many aspects. So when I say it's an important question, these are all titles, these are labels that we either give to ourselves or people give to us. But deep down, it's about when we were children, we were told, like, there's one thing that you have to be, and this is what you are for life. And really, that is something that's given to us as a gift when we were children. but there is the child and there's the adult. Now we are adults. And really, I think that when we have these different labels, we are so many things, but we tend to put ourselves in a small box. And and as time goes, I think that what people have told us in society, which was really relevant to the previous generations, but not right now. And the future is even going to be more diverse. What I mean is that we are learning so much more about the brain, about the body, about it, how it works. And we know now that one of the critical aspects of the future economy or the future workforce is being open to change, or cognitive flexibility, which is all about being able to not just specialize in an area, but being able to take what you know and sort of translate it in different ways. It's not necessary that what you know only is actually going to be applied only to that particular situation. In fact, it's detrimental to us. So I would say that who I am is a person who's recognized the importance of all of this new evidence. And now what I'm doing with it is I'm always sort of pushing myself into that next uncomfortable level, just so that I can
love that about you. I remember you speaking about this the first time that we spoke, and you said, I love being uncomfortable. And how cool is that? To be very frank, how many of us really do that?
Look, but trust me, so there's different aspects to this being uncomfortable. Being uncomfortable is not easy. It's not easy at all. There is a lot of pain involved. But one of the key things in this title that we've come together with is called Feeling Broken to Becoming Whole Again. And I just want to give you a small snippet of neuroscience over here, is our neurons are continuously connecting and disconnecting. So when I say that I was feeling broken, it's actually what happens is there's a big life change happening, and it's actually happening in your brain. You've got some new information, something's come up, previous memories have happened. And what happens is these neural pathways are actually disconnected right now. What happens is, in this disconnection, you can either choose to reconnect them in a different way, or you can actually choose to keep them connected just like in the past. So feeling broken, I'm not saying that I am broken, I'm saying I'm feeling. Feelings are not facts. So it's an opportunity for you to change.
It is.
Whenever this is the only way I could see it, because but when I say that, I have actually, those little titles are nothing to. I've put myself through the army in Australia. I've gone cycling in Mexico, and I've volunteered God knows where in the middle of nowhere, and I've lived in Colombia, and who knows what else I've done in these 40 years. I can't even remember. But I think that what we want every day is to remember that this moment of ever feeling broken is an opportunity to talk to someone, just anyone, and find something that you can change.
Absolutely. And we're going to be talking so much about this through this conversation as well. So, looking at you and how you are today and the things that you talk about, it's just so difficult to imagine that you had a childhood which was marred with abuse. Okay. Would you want to share a little about it?
Yes. Yes. This smile on my face and this continuous spirit of never giving up did not arrive from I guess from just good memories. It was definitely a very tough road to coming here. So when I say that, I grew up in a village. I grew up in a small little village in Goa, which is called Para, which is a really small village, in the sense that village mentality is a real thing. My parents were educated. However, education does not cause insight, right? Just having, yeah, this is a very critical point, that we think just because knowledge definitely helps, don't get me wrong, but knowledge applied in the correct way is a very important fact. So growing up in Goa, the patriarchy, as well as the mentality of the people around, I grew up, yes, with, it could be a constant mix of, you could say, sexual abuse, molestation, emotional abuse, physical abuse, you can name it. But, you know, I have realized that the point that we need to know over here as adults is the child that was abused and actually endured it was a person that didn't know any different, because adults actually have a responsibility to know better. But yeah, but now what I know is that we are capable of recognizing that the coping mechanisms, so it was a coping mechanism to be able to just endure it, or to just, you know, ignore it or repress it, which is really something that is also taught to us. So in today's world, in India and all over the world, we are taught when, you know, as children, what's wrong and what's right, which is really critical to your body, and recognizing when you have to draw a boundary.
Absolutely. Something is not right. Yeah, true.
Something is not right. But when I was growing up in the 80s, this was never really discussed. It was a different world. Yeah. Yes. So I was born in, I'm 40 years old this year, so this is great. You know, a great year. But what I'm saying is that 20 years ago, even 20 years ago, probably this started, and it's really important. But then it was not there. So I didn't know any different. And I just knew that I had to continue. I just had to, I probably took on some of those mechanisms early on. And I would say that it's only in my 20s that I managed to change this for myself.
So, but through this, while Ginny, through the time that you were actually going through the abuse, did it ever cross your mind to speak up about it, or to talk about it to someone, or share it with anyone, for that matter?
Yes, look, my mom really tried to help us in many ways. However, you know, family and society, I think globally, even in Australia, I mean, India, it's much more, you know, dependent on how people see you and how people, you know, engage with you. And family is really important in India. So, and I don't say that it's not important anywhere else in the world, but I did try to speak up, and my mom did try to speak up. But one of the key things over here is that we are working in a country in those days when I can truly tell you that the police knew. My dad had a lot of control with the police because he was working in the government, and the police would come to our house and actually have an issue with us rather than actually looking at who's caused the problem. I will give you this example of speaking up, that when I was about 18, I was sitting in a 17, I can't remember. I was in a college in Goa, and my father sent the police to my university because my mother had left him. So this is my story. Yeah. So no one knows these things, and I'm here sharing.
No, and I'm so glad that you're talking about it today, and of course you've spoken about it on a lot of other platforms as well. Yeah, but it's kind of a little difficult because the kind of structures that we come in from in India, it's hard to imagine that some things like these do happen in homes. I mean, I haven't fortunately seen anything like this happening to people within my close circles. So I think speaking to you kind of gave me a lot of insights as well. And the numbers that you shared, 20-25% is like insanity. And I'm sure in India, it could just be so much more higher because a lot of it may not even go reported for that matter, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think that, so incest or family abuse is definitely there. It's not spoken about, but it has a lasting impact on the people who are actually abused. I don't want to call them victims because these are all labels. And what I want to say is that, yes, I think in India, there's a lot more discussion about this, but it's, and even in Australia or even in globally, but we're talking about usually abuse, which is really critical as well, from employers or, schools, teachers,
of course,
like church systems, but we're not talking about what's happening within the family. And
of course,
I think that this is because there's a lot of like, you have to see this person every single day of your life.
Correct.
Not someone you can just go like, that guy's out. It's not that way. It's someone who you have to live with, and you have to draw your boundaries. So I would say that, acknowledging that this exists and we can actually survive this and even thrive, I was going to say, actually.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, 20 years ago, I was still in India, and I would never dream that I would be this person today. So I can tell you that in terms of the people that we interact with, so even though there was so much of confusion in my house, you're right, there were lots of people that helped us along the way. Our neighbors, my friends, strangers. Like my mom asked for help from every person, family. So, there was definitely a sense of, you need to speak up. It's not shameful. Nothing is shameful. Because what's happening over here is critical to understand. The person who is hurting, whether it's emotional abuse, sexual abuse,
whichever form of abuse, irrespective.
Whatever kind, right? What's happening with this person? This person is actually unwell, is incapable of using their prefrontal cortex or their brain to delay gratification or to delay hurting others because they are hurting so much themselves.
Within.
Yes,
that's true.
And once we understand that, now as a child, you don't understand this. You're like, because like you don't know it.
You're kind of ignoring it. You probably don't even know what's right and what's not in that sense.
That's right. Yeah, we're not talking about this, but it's really important that children, whoever's watching this video, recognizes that this person is actually hurting you because they are hurting so much, incapable of using their prefrontal cortex. And what will help them is not you sticking around or making excuses for their behavior. It will not help them. They need to have a breakdown. What is a breakdown? It's a breaking of the neural connections which they have continued to use so that they can actually find a different way in behaving. But we sometimes, I say we, society, or the way we've been taught previously, is that we think we can save someone else. It's not true. You can't do nothing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think we carry these notions in our heads and sort of validate that notion by demonstrating behaviors which may or may not be healthy. So yeah, that's basically what it is. So I know that you kind of eventually moved to Australia. I think you were about 22, 23 at that point in time, and Australia became home for you. So how was life for you after the move? I mean, did that move in some ways kind of help you come to terms with your past? Were you able to sort of release some of your pain, your trauma after kind of moving here?
Yes, for sure. Yes. So many people think that going away to another country is usually something that people plan for all of their lives and then do it. But it wasn't the case with us. My mum asked my aunts who were living over here to help us to move away from India because of the challenges of my dad having connections in the government everywhere. And I guess she knew that we would never be able to live a life that was peaceful because he was hurting so much. And in his only way, unfortunately, was to hurt others. So coming to Australia definitely was like, in terms of the nervous system, I'd like to explain it in terms of the nervous system because so in terms of the nervous system, my nervous system had the opportunity to actually calm down. So the parasympathetic and the sympathetic are two nervous systems. The sympathetic nervous system, even though it's called the sympathetic, is actually all about stress. And parasympathetic is all about actually, having the space to figure out who you are, what you want. And coming to Australia into an enriched environment is a technical term, which is like an opportunity to be able to see something different, to be with different people. I was here with my aunts when I first came, saw a different way of life, different way of being. And what it allowed me to do is your brain is changing dependent on the people you surround yourself.
Okay.
This is real. This is not like something that is made up. What I mean is that when you are interacting with people in a particular way, you have the people that are thinking around you and they're speaking to you. What people say to you, your brain is trying to make those connections and actually shifting itself, right? And so if you hear good conversations, encouraging, positive, optimistic, looking forward, and not just conversations that are, like in terms of mundane gossiping, or even just, continuously rehashing the past.
Got that.
You have this opportunity, your brain has this opportunity to do something new. So coming to Australia, I quickly realized that I wanted to understand more about human behavior. I wanted to never behave the way people had treated me in India. Not everyone, don't get me wrong, but there was a particular thing that is happening in India and many countries where people don't understand that it's important to understand your own brain and your own behavior. The relationship I realized that I had with myself, the identity that I was given, was creating or had. So there was an identity that I was given and I wanted to break that. I did not want that identity.
Got that.
So I suppressed it. I didn't, like what happens is, if you think of this like this, we go through a cycle where you don't want to accept the truth, right? So, and the thing is really painful. At first, if you like hit your toe on the edge of I don't know, the door or the bed, at first, sometimes you just like, don't even know when you've actually had a cut and it's bleeding. So there's a moment when there is absolutely no realization. So or you suppress the pain so much. So that's what I did. I suppressed the pain for a while. I suppressed the pain because I did not want to actually face up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, I found it really hard to face up to it initially. But then I realized through my own research, as well as because I was working in this area, that if I continue to suppress this, it's not going to work for me. I will probably end up with different kinds of diseases.
Absolutely. Yeah. You'll probably be holding so much of it within yourself that it will actually get difficult for you in the long run as well.
Yeah. So there used to be different models of health. And now we've got this model called the biopsychosocial model, which continuously tells us that disease is not just the cause of disease is not just some kind of something that's wrong within you, but it's a combination of your biology, your psychology, and the social environment that you live in.
That you're living in, yeah.
Yes, exactly. So for me, I went through that phase of, completely denying what had happened, but then I quickly realized that I had to face up to it. And
yeah, of course.
Once I started facing up to it, it definitely took me on a roller coaster. Don't get me wrong. But if you think of where I am now, I wouldn't change a single thing during those years to be able to be where I am now. So yeah, so in
absolutely,
terms of,
and you've come such a long way, and of course you finally took charge of life and you decided to kind of bring in that change, which of course is a very, very conscious effort. A lot of people, when they are shoving things under the carpet, it just stays there, but one day it sort of resurfaces. And I'm just so glad that you did this, though I'm sure it must have been a journey. It must have taken so much of your courage and resilience and letting go as well, So I think one of the biggest milestones that that you had along the way was doing the solo cycling expedition. And where it really came from was that in spite of sort of fighting it out for like decades at a stretch, you kind of realized that you still hadn't completely let it out. And probably the expedition sort of became your way of releasing some of it and also influencing others along the way. And you really spoke about it so beautifully through your TED talk, So, so how did you get around to doing it in the sense? I mean, when did you really decide upon doing the expedition? What was the thought behind it? And how was that experience?
Yeah, that journey definitely is another journey. So I don't talk a lot about the journey, like what made me do that journey, but it's really funny. I think you've put a picture of me somewhere.
Sorry, you've frozen or I've frozen. I'm not sure. One of us has.
Oh no, it's fine. I'm good. I don't know whether.
Okay. Yeah, I think the lights just went off. Let me just change the network.
Oh, okay. Electricity, power.
Yeah, that's right. Sure, please go ahead.
No, that's fine. Yeah. So what made me cycle? This is a $1 million question. I am a person, as I started, exploring who I really was, I realized I am pretty much.
I can't hear you, Ginny.
Oh, okay. Can you hear me now? I can continue to talk.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can definitely hear you. So I'll just continue to share why I did the cycling trip.
Sorry. Yeah, please go ahead. I'm back. I think we had in between, but yeah, please go ahead.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, the cycling trip was. I had just come back from a job in the Pacific. So the Pacific Ocean, there's a little island called Saipan. I was working over there as an epidemiologist. There was a natural disaster, a tsunami, like a wasn't a tsunami, it was a typhoon. It was like a category 4 typhoon, where you can imagine the coconut trees were wrung like a towel was wrung.
Oh
like
my
that.
God. Oh my
Yes.
God. Okay.
Yes. So, and it pretty much wiped out half the island. And I was only there for about 3 months.
Okay.
So it's almost like I'm going to explain a little bit about, so what happens when you start to make a decision? Your decision. So because this is a decision. So my decision, one would say, is influenced by memories, because I always loved cycling. I loved riding motorbikes. You know, I was that kind of person. So that memory, I had just been through the reserves. So the Australian Reserve Army, where I had found that I had the endurance much more than I ever
imagined. Yeah.
Yes. But so that experience showed me that, hang on, I could pretty much just start cycling anywhere in the world. And then I was like, I always wanted to start an orphanage or some kind of a shelter for little children in India, because I was, because of my experience, I didn't want any other kids to have to endure living in a household, having the issues with society that they don't let you leave or give you the opportunity to, because they have their own mindset.
Notions, yeah.
Yeah. So I always wanted to do that. So I wanted to look for a place. I wanted to find out what were the real problems. And then I was like, also, there was this part of me that was like a feminist, but a feminist, not from the fact that I hate all men. I don't try, you know, I'm not that kind of person at all. I'm a feminist where it's all about recognizing and empowering women. It's not necessary. So I was just like, well, what better way? I mean, seriously, I didn't know that I was going to actually do this, but I think I had thought about this a few times when I was like a child, that I would love to go and just cycle somewhere. It was strange. You know, it's like a deja vu. So after all these kinds of experiences happen in one go, I was coming away from Saipan, and in the airport, I think I texted my brother and said, you know, I want to go cycling across India. Can you help me organize this? And
what was his reaction?
I think he was like, okay, yeah, sure. Because I mean, he knows me. I pretty impulsive. And then, yeah, so understanding that, you know, every decision we make is a decision that's come from a deeper place, is important. So don't beat yourself up. Like, don't beat yourself up, and understand your decisions. Like, what are the different roles that all of these things have to play? Like your memories, your current sensories, you know, what sensations you have, your current perspective, your past, like, you know, whatever, in terms of, again, memories, but really pertinent things that have happened in your life. And what is your values? What is the main things in your life? Because with these 5 things, you're making decisions all the time. This is the neuroscience of decision making. Like,
fantastic. I think we're going to be doing a different session on this completely another time for sure. But yeah, so you eventually went on to do 3,000 kilometers cycling, right? And that was a solo trip, wasn't it? Were there moments where you were skeptical, fearful, apprehensive? How did people respond to you when they saw this single lady sort of, you know, cycling through those roads, through those villages, through those towns? What was the experience like for you?
Yeah. Yes. Look, I had actually invited, as I do, I always invite people to go along on a journey with me.
Okay.
And there were some friends who said, yeah, let's do it. Because I had just finished, I think I had finished cycling somewhere in, I can't remember where. But I think I finished cycling somewhere else. And I was like, yeah, I can just Oh, it was just in New Zealand, like 300 kilometers. It wasn't that much. And I realized really quickly that my friends said to me, so this was in 2015, and I think it was in 2013, if I'm not mistaken, that, you know, there was that girl who got raped in the medical student.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it wasn't, I think it was only about 2 or 3 years before that. And everyone said to me that, look, you're going to be, not everyone, there were lots of friends like Wendy were like, and other friends and family were like, yeah, sure. And I think that many people thought that this was going to be like one of those trips that they're never going to see me again.
Okay.
And well, because, you know, cycling in India in the middle of nowhere alone is quite the risk, obviously. And I had not booked any accommodation. I was relying, for me, it was a test. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a test about everything about myself, as well as about what I had learned about society. Like,
got that.
I wanted to challenge the fact that, can I trust myself? Have I built my self-trust to the extent that people don't go and do this, but, you know, as a test, but because obviously, again, I understand what I'm doing. I did not go, I mean, I also did go in Central America and cycle by myself to a great extent, but you have to understand who you are, and, you know, you have to understand the context of it all. I would not advise, you know, foreigners who've never been to a country like India to just suddenly go and cycle in the middle of nowhere. That would be a bit counterproductive sometimes, maybe. But yeah, so what happened was that there were so many people who I did not know, literally,
you met along the way. Yeah.
And that's where I remember there was this person, I can't remember all the names. I must have met thousands of people because I cycled with thousands of people. I said thousands, it must have been at least hundreds, just exaggerating. But I have this thing that strangers are the family you have just yet to meet.
Yeah.
And I had goosebump moments throughout the journey as to when I met different families, and I just felt like they were always my family. I've probably spent...
I remember you telling me that you, in fact, even went on to stay with some of them, right? In the sense, I mean, you were like staying over with a couple of people who you just met along the way, right?
Not couple. I think it happened almost pretty much every second night.
Whoa, like really?
Yes. And it was through friends, and someone like one family in the middle of nowhere. This family actually gave me their bed and then slept in their kids' room, and like it was like that. It was like, you know, when someone has a dream, everyone sort of works together.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, it was
like the universe coming together to support your dream. But when you started off, did you really think it's going to be like 3,000 kilometers, or did you just kind of go where the road took you? How was it? Was it a planned thingy, or you know, to just follow it? And yeah.
When I was sitting in Sydney when I finished. I was just going through this transition. I had like a month to prepare, and I took a map. I bought a map of I printed a map of India, and then I folded it in half.
Okay.
From the east to the west, and I drew a line, and then I said, okay, I will start in Kashmir and I will just go down straight. That's what I said.
OMG. Really? That's how you plan your trip?
Right? And then I just started like mapping out, okay, maybe I can do 100 kilometers a day. I said, okay, I'll go to there and then there and then there. And then when I started cycling in Kashmir, what I realized was that there was some part of it where definitely I couldn't bicycle. And so my mom and my brother, they came along. And I think in Kashmir, I said to them, I need to do this by myself. like, thank you so much.
Mm.
And so my brother and my mom, they came to Kashmir with my bicycle and everything. And then as I started cycling by myself, I realized that cycling on the highways of India from the top to the bottom is not the best thing in the world. Because India being India, no kidding, right? There were big, massive trucks at 4 o'clock in the morning, at 4
Must
a.m.
be like packed totally, yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to avoid the heat. So I'd sort of wake up at 4:30 in the morning and then start cycling maybe about 5:30. If I was staying in someone's house, then I would try to accommodate for their needs and not be
start a little early. Yeah, start a little later. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't leave at like 4 o'clock in the morning. I just leave at like 7 o'clock or something. But many times when like I just used to book myself into a little like any motel that was there on the road, just go look for something. But if there was nothing, then I just look for some family and ask them if I could stay in their house. Like I was like that. And so I decided, because I really wanted to meet with schools and I wanted to have conversations with people. And I thought that, you know, this would be a good thing on the main highway because there would be more people around.
Got that.
But
yeah.
I quickly realized that was not the best thing for me to like keep alive, because there was these trucks in the morning without any headlights in the dark.
That's
coming
scary. Yeah, of
on.
course.
You know, no one drives on the side of the road that they're supposed to drive on, obviously. In India, it's what's the best suited for me? I don't care whether it's on the right or the left. If I am supposed to be taking a left turn, I might as well just keep going on the left. And the right.
Yeah, I hear you. I think we witnessed that a little too often. So finally, what was the duration of the entire trip? Was it took you like about a month, 2 months?
Yeah, it took me about 60 days. I cycled for about 45 days of those. Okay. And I definitely, it was about 3,200 and something kilometers. But really, what I had said to myself and my mom, obviously, my mom was really important in this because I didn't want to, you know, make her too nervous. Was that the moment that I felt like this was getting to going to be a wrong decision, I would pull out. I would stop. But but it's so funny that you can think of this. I think I had gone with a strong mentality in when I started, and trust me, I probably felt unsafe in one place in Kashmir where it was very, very like a lot of these trucks, you know, truckwalas, they just get together because there's I don't know what's going on, but there's these like really lonely stretches of roads, and then there's just these trucks that stop. And I think that was the only one time that I felt unsafe, and you wouldn't imagine it, but as I felt unsafe, I decided, okay, well, this is not a good thing to just, you know, keep riding or walking, because I was pushing the bicycle up this mountain. Obviously, it's Kashmir. And I thought it's better to have people around me. So what I did was I just asked for a lift. I didn't know who I was asking. And it turned out to be the guy that was just, who served me some chai, just about a kilometer. And he was like, where are you going? What are you doing? And so I just chatted to him, and he was really nice. And he rocks up in his truck, like, and he's like, what happened? And I'm like, I think I'm not feeling safe over here.
Okay.
He's like, and then it was his truck was so packed, and there were some people already sitting in it. And he was like, that's fine. Let's make place for you. And then he just took me for a couple of kilometers and then just dropped me, so that the person who was trying to follow me didn't know where I went. Because that guy had just like, so there was a guy who was on a motorbike and he was just doing
trying to chase you. Oh my God. Okay, got that. Yeah. And that too, of course, strange place, different location stuff. I'm sure it must have felt like really, really scary.
Look, I've lived in India for 20 years before that, so I knew this. So,
Yeah. That's
it's
cool.
another teaching moment, but people think intuition is something that comes from nowhere. But intuition is actually based on memories, on experiences we've had. So my intuition, my gut feel, so to speak, told me to do this, but only because I had experienced these
something like that in the past. Yeah, that's true. So Ginny, you speak a lot about trust. You in fact spoke about it through your TED Talk as well and on different platforms. I know for sure that was one of the biggest struggles that you faced through the journey, through your life journey. What was your experience, and why do you speak so much about trust per se?
Yeah, this is deep. As children, we have to trust the adults around us. This is where our neural connections are formed about trust, about self-worth, about self-esteem, all of these really critical things. And when we do not have the environment that allows us to experience this, as adults, we have to go on a new journey of learning how to give this to ourselves. Because I realized that without self-trust, I cannot trust anyone else. So trusting others is entirely dependent on trusting yourself. So for me, I think that even though there was lots of experiences of distrust or mistrust, I had somehow in my survival mode as a child or coping world, I had actually focused on people that gave me some elements of trust. Could have been the neighbors, could have been friends, could have been other family members. So for me, I realized that my whole journey of sort of moving out of the space of continuing to think like just as a, from this survival mode, that it has to do a lot with me bringing trust in my own life or trusting myself.
Got it.
And for me, it's like the only way I could change relationships external to me was if I had
yourself internally. Absolutely.
You said it right. Yeah,
absolutely. It all starts from within yourself. So I get this whole aspect of trusting yourself, but tell me something. How does this translate when we're talking about relationships? The reason I'm speaking about relationships is because what I have heard is that one of the biggest challenges that somebody who has gone through a traumatic situation faces is that it's not just about losing trust in yourself, but losing trust in the whole world around you, right? The world that surrounds you. You end up, and this I've heard from a lot of people, actually, especially the ones who have gone through abuse, is that you end up finding shades of that in your partners or in the people that you attract to yourself. You start finding the same traits. Are there trust issues which crop up in relationships as well?
Yes, definitely. So for me, learning to have a good relationship, like the relationship I have now with my partner, has definitely been a journey. So the relationships I had previously was based on my stage of having a relationship with myself. What I mean is that, so when I first started to accept the abuse, I was really angry, right? I was angry at what was not given to me. And so I became angry with others. And that could be we hurt the people that we love the most, or that are closest to us the most. And lucky for me, like having known all of these kinds of this knowledge in terms of my work, what I was able to do was call my sister, for example, and ask her for help. Like, what do we need? We want love and we want caring. This is like, these are the two
baseline.
elements,
Yeah, true.
right? I mean, everything else. But what we want to do is, when you don't trust yourself, is you expect a lot without asking for it. And it's not just with people who've been abused. It could be all shades of I don't feel good or whatever it is. And so in terms of relationships and trust, it's, do you trust yourself to ask for what you want? And then be able to handle whatever the other person's response is.
Because the response may not always be what you want to hear, but yeah, saying that, you know, you just got to take what comes your way. You know, in fact, I kind of, you know, sort of resonate with some parts of it. But the other thing which also happens is that, one, of course, anyone going through a situation may not necessarily be abuse, any situation for that matter. Okay, it could be a health condition or, you know, or possibly a trauma that maybe someone has passed away. A lot of times what happens is you sort of bottle up so much of it that you get tough from the exterior, but you're still very, very fragile from within yourself. And in those scenarios, you find it so difficult to just open up and be vulnerable in front of people, isn't it? In the sense, I mean, you want to be strong, you want to be in control, you want to sort of portray yourself as you are invincible in so many ways. But within yourself, you're kind of breaking down, but you'll still not ask for help.
Yes, you actually nailed it. There is a key that you can use to change that, is that once you realize that at the core, everyone wants is love. And it's not like when you say at the core, everyone wants love, right? You learn to be vulnerable, but this is like, it doesn't happen within a day. This is something that we have to learn over time. And there are different ways in which we can do this, right? It's not just, but what I'm saying is that there is a way to be able to become more outspoken and ask for help. It's almost like, perhaps I was just telling my partner that for me, because I had no other option, or my mom had no other option but to ask for help constantly, sort of worked in my favor, right? I was always asking for help. People didn't give me help. People actually did the opposite of help me. You know, all of those things happened, right? But I had to keep asking. Otherwise, I knew that I was going to be dead. Like, it was that bad. Like, I would either kill myself. So over time, trust me, I've had to take off many different masks.
Yeah, and I think one of them was also that you did mention that you were suicidal at some point in time. And I'm sure that must have been a stage before you really started opening up. I'm guessing. I don't know. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Look, at the end of the day, there's different triggers that happen in your life. And at some stage, we will talk about this, but there's the polyvagal nerve. Now, I'm just throwing in all these terms, but the polyvagal nerve is actually helping to keep you in a state of calmness, right? It's sort of, it's the nerve that you can train to actually keep you calm. And one of the things is that with training, sorry, I've actually lost my train of thought. Can you repeat that question? What were you actually trying to ask me?
So I was actually talking about the time, you know, you shared that you were suicidal at some point of time. And I was just saying that I think that was before you started opening up. And yeah.
But don't don't get me wrong. The journey to healing is not one that is linear, right? So don't get me wrong in terms of, have I not had really down moments in the last week? Hell yes, because this is life.
Yeah.
Because I will always have a trigger. I will always have memories. My point is this polyvagal nerve. How quickly can you come back to the calmness? You can either go and become like in a fighty mode and a flight mode, or you will become depressed, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is going to happen to us, going to either extremes all the time. Don't think that once you're healed, none of these triggers are going to come back. Your brain is plastic. Memories are going to allow it. Smells are going to allow it. Noises, someone's words are going to actually bring up all kinds of mixed things. The point is for us is, can we actually come back to that medium level? So as much as I say that, there is a sense of people try to take away my spirit. People try to get something out of me when I was a child. But at the end of the day, as an adult, I know that was my child brain. That was my child mind. Today, I have an adult mind. What this means is I set the rules for my own life. I set the boundaries. And sometimes people don't like those boundaries, and that's okay.
Yep.
But I have good friends around me who recognize my boundaries, and I will call them and say, look, I've put this boundary up, but they're pushing me down. I feel guilty. I feel whatever else, right? I need your help. Tell me it's okay.
What's it? Yeah.
Tell me if I'm doing the right thing. Let's discuss this. This is the only way we can survive.
Absolutely.
I just say, none of us will survive alone, ever. If you need help,
you just got to open up and start talking about it. It's as simple as that, I guess. In fact, you also did speak about the self-limiting beliefs that a lot of people carry within themselves, and the way they start downplaying or undermining their own potential. Okay, so just a little about that. How can people get over their negative subconscious thoughts and accept themselves in a way where they are able to identify their true potential and become limitless, absolutely free?
In 2 minutes.
No, you can take your time. That's fine. We have we can stretch it a little if we have to, but yeah, I think this is important. Yeah.
Yes. There is something called the default mode network in our minds. What this means is that what we've realized with neuroscience and the latest evidence is that the default mode network sometimes goes into a negativity bias. So this default mode network basically comes to play when we are doing nothing, when we are not focusing on something.
Got that.
So that's a particular kind of a neural network. Different parts of the brain are associated with it. When someone thinks that they're not doing anything, sitting and not watching TV, all of these things, it's unfortunately the case that the brain goes into negative thinking. And what happens, what happens is that depending on your hormones, right? Not only women who have hormones, men have hormones as well. Depending on, so when I say hormones, depending on what you've eaten, depending on what kind of exercise you've done, depending on how much sleep you've had, depending on all these factors, you've got hormones that kick up in your body, right?
Got that.
And these hormones interact with your current perspective, right? Whatever's happening in your life. And they interact with the memories. And I'm just coming back to the same thing that I started off with. And what happens is your mind, if your hormones are actually creating some kind of a sensation that you've previously associated with sadness, right? And all the memories of sad memories will start to show up. So also, like you can think of it, as soon as you start crying about one thing, say you got hurt, like you just hurt yourself. And then you think, oh my God, my life is like going to end because like, okay, I've just broken my toe or I don't know, something, right? You start thinking, oh, I'm not going to be able to do this. Oh, I'm not going to be able to do that. And this is what happened during the pandemic. is when we had this thought that, okay, or, the society shut down, we put limits on ourselves.
Yeah,
this is what
absolutely.
happened, right? Because the mind goes on one trajectory, you start thinking the same direction. You have to make a conscious effort to move it in the opposite direction. This is really important. And that's where it's this scientifically proven, this kind of box breathing, meditation, all of this allows you to have the awareness that these thoughts of feeling not good enough, feeling unworthy, the low self-esteem could be, feeling of, what do you call that? Imposter syndrome, all of these things is a combination of your brain making decisions to not let you feel pain. Because if you think all of these things, you won't go take risks. You won't do anything different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, and I think, I just have this one term sort of ringing in my head as you spoke, neurons that wire together, neurons that wire together, fire together. So I don't know the way I would read it as a layman, because of course you're the expert here, but it's basically that the kind of emotions that you put together, one thing leads to another. So it's sort of important for you to break that pattern somewhere and, latch on to the positive emotions, so to say, or at least find a perspective which kind of takes you away from feeling or thinking so negative, because the negative will only attract negative and not the positive. It'll just kind of pull you down. Is that what you're saying? Right?
Yes, absolutely. And this is where you ask for help, because you break the pattern as soon as you go away and start doing something that's focused. You can actually break that pattern. So what I am saying is that no matter what you've gone through your life, is what we need to know is you will always be either your brain or, you will always be triggered to either sort of feel depressed or feel like fighting or like running away.
Yeah, or fight or flight.
Yes. And there's another one actually,
Freeze.
but we want to talk about it. Fawning, but but that's okay. What we want to do is I've done meditation. It's called Vipassana meditation, 10-day silent retreat since I was probably 18. I've done few of these.
Okay.
Again, the point I'm saying is that meditation also, it allows you to reduce the time that you take to come back to who you actually are at your core, which is this loving person that no one can take away from you. So what we want to do is to say that there will, in life, you will always have ups and downs, and you will just be able to learn to get better to coming back to your you moment.
The real you, actually. Yeah.
The real you under all of these masks that you have to put up in society, just to be accepted, just to be whatever else you want to call it. So yeah, I think
that's so beautiful, because what I can gather from this conversation is that you are the limit that you put on yourself, right? In the sense, you become your own limitation beyond a point in time. And if you do not get over yourself, there is no way in which you'll be able to move forward. So it's a choice that you have to make for yourself.
Yes, 100%. Choices, and the decisions. The choice comes from this decision that's happening in your brain. Yeah. So if you continuously recognize that this is a choice based on all of these other things that have just gone back in my brain, you're not going to beat yourself up, because, hey, you can't change the past, but what you can do is just accept that your brain has made this decision. For example, it could be like you decided to go to exercise, and then your brain decided, no, I'm not going to exercise. So don't beat yourself up, because your brain is trying to what it's trying to do is to keep you away from pain. So
got that. Yeah.
So you have to continuously learn that, all your brain is doing to make decisions is to try to keep you away from pain. And you have to define what is not painful to you in each moment, or to embrace the pain, because the brain is making up pain as well. The brain is making up everything for us.
So while you're doing all of this, Ginny, now this is something which I've been wanting to ask you for a while. I just kept it for the last because I know that this possibly is one of the toughest thing to do. Forgiveness. Okay, how important is it through this journey? Whether it's about whether it's about forgiving yourself, forgiving someone who has caused trauma to you, and how do you deal with it? How do you come around to forgiving yourself and forgiving somebody who has not been nice to you, as such?
Yeah, sure. This is a question that many people have asked me. So, have you forgiven all the people that abused you? Because seriously, there was not just one. Have you forgiven yourself for what I did to myself as a result of taking on all of these things? And for me, I think the critical part is forgiveness has different meanings in different cultures. And in I would say, as an Indian, there's a lot of emphasis on the forgiveness of the person. And I heard this a lot. To be honest, I did not go to the funeral of my father. And it's not because I did not forgive him. It's not because of that. But it's because, for me, going to his funeral or not going to his funeral was not a matter of forgiveness. For me, the forgiveness was about accepting his situation for what it was, letting him go and taking away that kind of those so-called, there was expectations of me to attend this moment because he was my father. And I said, I am an adult. And right now, for me, it was about recognizing that as an adult, I would not think that anyone would call a man who abused his own child a father. So I let go of this man being my father. I respect him for the problems that he had, or, I acknowledge him. I wouldn't say respect, or, but I know that he had lots of issues. And the forgiveness is a matter of, for me, definitely an internal job. No matter what I say to someone else, no matter what I said to him, there was not going to be it's not an external thing.
Of course, it's all within yourself.
Yeah. So I forgave myself. Otherwise, trust me, there was different paths that I would probably go down. Addiction is a very common one to numb this hurt. I think that what I witnessed with myself is that I have forgiven everyone. I've forgiven myself, because I can stand here and talk about it. This is the greatest forgiveness.
Absolutely. And to be very frank, Ginny, it's not just about you talking, it's about what is it doing to the others who are listening to you in this moment. I'm sure everyone who's been a part of this conversation would go back a little more aware and a little more, I wouldn't even call it compassionate, because it's nothing to be compassionate about, empathetic about what a person really goes through along this journey. It's not just trauma physically, it kind of takes a toll on you emotionally, mentally, and maybe most of the people don't even actually come out and talk about it. So they carry it through, within themselves for the rest of their lives, don't they?
Yes. Yes, it is something that I say is a part of this jigsaw puzzle of my life.
Right. Yeah.
It's like my globe. It's one of those countries, like you can say my different experiences in my life is different countries, and it will always exist. And it's about me going to that place sometimes and feeling in sometimes, going to other places. So it's just a part of me, but it is not the whole me.
Yeah, it's just a part. Exactly. I mean, there's this whole big, long life that we all are blessed with. And there are so many dimensions to our lives. And, perhaps, and I think somewhere we are given experiences because somewhere we learn out of it. And if we're able to translate that pain into power, there can be nothing more beautiful than that, I guess. I think that's how I look at it. I mean, I wouldn't want somebody to go through this, but saying that, I mean, if I were to look at my own life, there have been parts which have been extremely traumatic. But when I look back at it, I just feel that if I wouldn't have gone through that, maybe I wouldn't have been as compassionate or empathetic as I am today. And probably the drive that you get to make a difference, whether it's about the cycling expedition that you undertook or the different ways in which you impact people today, even the profession that you chose is one where you are able to change lives. And I think a lot of it comes from your own experiences as well, right? And that's how I would see it. But yeah, what I am definitely inclined to know a little more about is what's next for you from here, in the sense, where do you go from here on?
Yeah, no, thanks. Yes, this is as you know, as we started this conversation with openness to change and cognitive flexibility, which is like, cognition is everything from thinking and understanding to decision making and all of these executive functions. Is for me, it's a mantra in my life. Like, if I'm not flexible, then I don't know the next Ginny. I feel like I continuously want to throw me in different situations so that I can actually meet the new me. Because I think that identity that's given to us should not be a box that we sort of lock ourselves in. And what we are going to do if we do that is do a disservice to the next generation. For me, look, don't get me wrong, I have worked really hard and spent many hours in my own growth, in my own, like in analyzing all of these different behaviors I had, because I want that our generation is actually going to stop this abuse from being passed down from generation to generation. Like, this abuse actually stops with me. I empower others, I empower myself to not allow this to happen to anyone else. But again, it's my wish, it's my journey of being able to take every action to do this. And I will leave no stone unturned. I think I am that kind of person.
I totally second you on that, and more power to you. And, I'm sure with the kind of person that you are, whatever you wish for or whatever you dream to do, I'm sure that's going to happen, and I think I'm just going to be like a bystander watching you, trying to just help wherever I can, doing my bit. But yeah, saying that, I think I couldn't be happier to have you here. And, just for everybody to know, today is your TED Talk anniversary as well, right? And that's one of the reasons why we did this session today. So yeah, it's been like, what, 2 years now or 3?
Exactly, yes. The journey from 2019, 23rd of November,
2 years.
Trust me, my body standing on that stage was living every moment of my of that past. And sometimes I watch that video and I can see the body had taken on or remembering so much, and you can see this kind of contraction. I wasn't smiling so much, I wasn't in the flow so much, and it was because that obviously those memories had shifted. But 2 years on, if I didn't do that, I don't think I would be this person today.
Absolutely.
Standing in front of 300 absolutely unknown people. But some of my friends and my partner was there, but Yes, I think that we just have to step out continuously, like you did. You went on this journey. We have to step out into this unknown zone because we want all kinds of abuse to stop with us. We have been given this incredible brain, and let's start understanding it more and using it better for the good of humanity, really, for the good of understanding our own mechanisms, which make us do good things and bad things, so that we can do good things, really. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate
my pleasure, totally. I'm just so thankful to you for coming here and sharing parts of you so openly with so much of vulnerability as well. So once again, a big salute to your spirit. And in fact, I think it's your spirit which has actually turned it into a mission of helping others come out and, stand up against any kind of abuse. So for that, I'm like really grateful. But yeah, without, it would be a shame if I were to kind of close the session without saying this. Now, one thing which has definitely come out of this session is that we are getting you back here again, because the next time that I bring you back here, I would love for you to speak about brain science. It's like one of my favorite topics. But yes, I would love to do a session with you sometime on how the brain typically works and how can you sort of rewire your brain and change habits and patterns, etc. But that, of course, requires another hour of conversation. I'm sure about that, So yeah, thank you so much for being here.
And thank you to everyone who's going to watch this. If anyone has questions or...
I have like a screen full of comments here on Facebook, but I think we are kind of a little short of time. So I think we might just have to go back into the session and respond to those comments. Yeah, we could do that after we close the session.
Oh, thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody, for making time for this. I know it's morning for those of you who are joining in from India. So yeah, glad that you guys could make it here. And of course, to everybody else as well. And Ginny, a big one for you and a big hug as well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it so much.
Sure. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.